welcome to NeuroWomen Natter, which is a bit of a weird one this month because I don't think any of us identify as women really, but here we are. And it's April. It's Autism Acceptance Month, Autism Awareness Month,
Yay.
Autistic Appreciation Month. What are we calling it now even?
I quite like the appreciation. The awareness is a bit like you need to be aware that there are fire exits here and here.
Yeah.
I think everyone's aware that autistic people exist.
I can ask a room full of people who here knows somebody who's autistic, and pretty much everyone has their hand up now.
It's the same way I feel about, because today is also Trans Visibility Day.
Yes.
Are we invisible the rest of the time?
Let's introduce ourselves before we go any further. So I am Charlie Hart. My pronouns are she, they. My adjectives are autistic, neurotic and awkward as fuck. And I am a neurodiversity inclusion speaker, as you know, at Awesome Charlie Limited. Azzy.
I'm Azzy, pronouns he, him. I am a neurodiversity and LGBTQ inclusion writer and training to be speaker.
Excellent.
Awesome. I'm Sam Warner. I'm a neurodivergent communication specialist, and I run a company called Get Your Message Across, and it helps organisations who want to keep their talent, neurodivergent talent, and reduce their recruitment costs, right?
Fantastic.
People are expensive.
Who wouldn't want to do that? Yeah. And actually, I really love the name of your company because I personally think that those communication deficits that are all over the autistic diagnostic criteria can be strengths. They're not deficits, they're differences, but at times we can communicate better than people who are not autistic, I think. So it's brilliant.
Yeah. When I've asked people who here wants less clear communication? Anybody? Oh, turns out nobody. Okay. Who wants more woolly instructions? No, nobody. Okay. Who wants really dreadful feedback that makes them feel sick? Oh, no one. Okay. Shall we fix that?
Does anyone want to be invited at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon to a catch-up on Monday with unspecified what it's about?
Absolutely right.
Inefficient.
Yeah.
If you're running a business, if you're trying to do work with clients and we're just adding all of this stuff for no reason, it's just like so not effective.
Yeah, definitely. I do sometimes add some neurotypical fluff to my emails, but only because I want them to land well with people who may not be lucky enough to share my neurotype.
But I polled an audience of 104 people very recently, and literally in the room, I was on stage and I asked everybody who here starts their email with what they want to ask for or share, and then has to go back to put in the niceties.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room put their hand up. So who are we doing the fluff for?
Yeah.
Turns out I don't think anybody really wants the fluff.
Yeah.
And when people don't receive the niceties in the hairdresser talk, as I call it, they believe, I think, that they've been kind of trained to be upset when someone doesn't put the fluff in. When actually, if I sent someone a WhatsApp or a text, which would be equally short and to the point, they wouldn't be upset. They'd actually think it was really strange if I went, "Dear Charlie, how are you? Hope you're having a really great day," and then asked for what I wanted on a WhatsApp.
I do get that sometimes, but
my brother used to do it.
It's all making sense now. I've known Sam for about 18 months now, although it feels like we've known each other for years because we're so comfortable with each other and have a lot in common as well. But I did wonder why she said I don't like emails, and I hardly ever check my emails, and now it all becomes clear.
And in fact, that's a good point to say. So the email thing, that it's quite divisive in a way, because some people love emails because they can control when they respond to people and they can think about their answers. Totally understand that. And other people hate emails with a passion because I get so many and it's such a demand on me. Oh, it's just a chore. So I have a permanent autoresponder on my emails, which tells anybody who emails me, if you need an urgent response, you need to WhatsApp me, ring me, or text me, because
Yeah.
I only look at my emails once a day.
Oh, do you answer the phone if I ring you?
I do, I know.
I've
Gen X
never
here,
tried
remember?
that, I
Gen
don't
X.
think. One of the simplest things we can do to help people thrive, whatever their neurotype, is allow them to express their communication preferences. So I think those of us that do that and self-advocate for our communication needs, we're really trailblazing the way for everyone else.
Absolutely. And I've had a couple of people who have messaged me and said, oh, thanks so much for your autoresponder, or your out of office, or whatever they call it. I have sent you an email and I could really do with knowing today.
Yeah.
Perfect. That system works.
Excellent. And then they probably went and put it in their own email signature as well.
Well, and I have, since I've done that, and it's been on there for about 5 years now, I have not had one person do the whole, oh, I sent you an email earlier and you haven't responded.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was a bit passive aggressive.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have
when I was in corporate, they'd ring you up and they'd be like, it's been 10 minutes since I sent you an email and you haven't responded. And I'm like, yeah, my Outlook was turned off like half an hour ago because I'm working.
Maybe I was pissing. Yeah.
I sometimes with emails, I appreciate the fact that there's not like that culture of like, or left on delivered, left on see, like you can't see. You're not like acknowledging when someone's read it. And I feel like oftentimes like you're not expected to reply immediately. And it's like oftentimes when people like call me, you know, when people call you out of the blue with like no context, they don't message fast. I'm just like, oh. Or like send like a whole message and you can see that they've sent a message, but you can only read like the top part and then you have to open it. And then once you've opened it, it's like you have to reply. And it's like so much information there at once. It's just, I need a bit of time.
I had a message this morning on LinkedIn. The first line that I saw in the preview, it said, I see we commented on the same post by Alex Partridge. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to open this.
Oh,
anyway.
I wish there was a universal emoji that we all understood was, I've seen it, but I'm going to reply later.
Yeah.
So I'm not leaving you on red, as in, you know, I'm ignoring you or something, or I don't know, don't feel rejected here. I just need either more time, or I've been distracted, or it's not a thing. It's not a personal thing to get upset about.
Oh, you should invent that.
What would it look like, though?
You could coin a word and we can get it out there. You could coin a hashtag. Maybe have a little badge.
A little thumbs up sign.
Yeah. This wasn't meant to be a brainstorming session for business ideas, but it's kind of going that way.
How do I get a new emoji put on? I don't know.
That's a great idea. Let's make a badge and then we can just pop it in a text or a LinkedIn message thread. But anyway, we are here to record an Autism Appreciation Month. No, scratch that. Autism is not a thing that exists on its own. It is a characteristic in human beings. So Autistic Appreciation Month. This is the Autistic Appreciation Month special of NeuroWomen Natter. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history. So when I first realised that there was autism in my family, and not just my brother, but also that my stepkid had it and probably mine, and I started to accept that I might be autistic as well. So this is going back a fair while. But I saw a lot of stuff on social media about autism awareness, and it was generally things about putting a blue banner around your profile picture, copying and pasting some generic text, and donating to a charity who appeared to be doing a lot of research to try and work out why people are autistic and then stop that from happening. All of which... No, I didn't mind the blue banner, but all of the stuff about the funding for preventing autism really I kind of thought, why? Do they want people like my brother, my kid, my stepkid, me, to not exist? Are we really that bad? And yeah, I'd already known that they were years ago that they tried to prove a link between autism and the MMR vaccine, which made me think, are they trying to say that it's worse to have autism than it is to have a disease like measles and rubella, which do actually kill some people? And it's just all a bit gross. And then when I discovered I was autistic, and I found the actually autistic community on Twitter mainly, and they had reframed it to acceptance, Autism Acceptance Month, I thought, yeah, that's a lot more like it. But now I'm like, acceptance isn't enough. We need to appreciate autistic people. Just don't make them able to go to events or to get a job, but actually appreciate them and celebrate them being there. So moving beyond acceptance and more to belonging.
I think human beings go through these phases where it's a bit like when you get a new team together, there's the whole kind of forming, norming, storming, performing.
Yeah.
And in the same way, 10 years ago, when I was still doing the same job I'm doing now, I was shouting into the dark. There was a handful of organisations who were clued up enough, interested enough, socially aware enough, all of those good things, to want to accommodate their differently brained colleagues and help them to thrive.
Microsoft,
medium, small to medium enterprise, in fact. Yeah, not big tech, but in fact, my experience, big tech has been quite the juggernaut to try to turn slightly. And but I get it, I do. But you can start a seed in a team, prove it, and then roll it out in other teams. I don't buy this whole you're a gigantic organization, you just can't change rubbish.
Absolutely. It's interesting you said plant a seed, actually, because I was reflecting in the shower this morning, as I do, that I really don't have a problem with organisations getting in an external speaker or doing some blogs or something for an awareness or appreciation month or week or day or whatever. That's not a problem at all, but that it is a problem if they think that getting someone to plant a seed is enough. Because when you plant a seed, you've also got to nurture it and help it grow and make sure it doesn't wither away. And that's the piece that's missing.
Absolutely. I know you do lunch and learns, the same I do lunch and learns, which can be a very effective way of reaching out into organisations.
I can give them some practical strategies and I can open hearts and minds. And
absolutely.
I can't do the legwork.
Yeah, you can't change the world in 45 minutes. So often they're like,
not just tick that and say, we did a lunch and learn, job done.
When I'm doing prep for it, they want the moon on a stick. They're like, can we have everything to do with neurodiversity in 45 minutes? And I'm like, and I speak quite quickly, but even I can't do that.
They wouldn't take it in if you did. But
exactly.
Stick it all in a book, but they're not going to read the whole book either.
No. And you probably see when you're doing them online, especially when the chat's there, either on Teams or Zoom or whatever platform they're using. What often happens is as you're talking, people will be putting questions in the chat or they'll be having little aha moments. Some of the questions are really more for the organisation rather than for me. You know, can I tell my manager? Can I disclose what happened? Can I get reasonable adjustments in my team? They're not questions that I can answer. I'm not part of that organisation.
No.
But I want the organisation to pick up that seed and run with it. I'm mixing all my metaphors up here, but that's not kind of like you say, the tick box. We've delivered our neurodiversity awareness. It's we've opened a door and we can't close it now.
Yeah, and you shouldn't want to, because there are such strong business drivers for neuro inclusion.
Absolutely. Diversity of thought. If you are still employing a team of clones in your teams, you will not grow as a business. I promise. I've even walked into a place and there were 5 guys all sat around a table. They all had a hair bun. They all wore glasses and they all wore waistcoats. And I was like,
oh my God,
is this a joke? It felt like I just walked into a prank.
Hipster.com, yeah.
It was really bizarre. I was just so taken aback at the likeness of everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, whoever's hiring here hired people who look like him and think like him.
That's because of affinity bias, isn't it? And the thing is, what's really frustrating in terms of inclusion at work, we've been talking about subconscious bias, unconscious bias. Yeah, we've been talking about that for a really, really long time. It was already high on the agenda when I joined HR, and that was probably, 25 years ago now. So it's ridiculous that it still exists. But I don't call it unconscious bias, I call it prejudice. But that affinity bit, yeah, unconscious bias is the fluffy HR speak, but what it actually is prejudice.
It is. And some people think that they can't change their mind about things. I'm living proof that you can. I came from a household where my father was a bigot and a racist and homophobic and all of those horrible things.
You're so far from any of that. And
so I'm proof that you can rewire.
Yeah. I know it is easy to warm to people if you've got things in common with them and they're on your wavelength, but absolutely anyone involved in recruitment, and not just for external starters, but for internal promotions as well, they really need to know that affinity bias is a big problem. Because if you recruit other versions of you, then you've got a cookie cutter culture, and it's the quickest way to stifle innovation and growth.
Absolutely.
No fresh ideas, no challenge.
Nope.
It's the easiest way to keep working as you are, but it doesn't help you progress.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it's because of insecurity, and I get that. Not some people aren't self-aware. They don't realize that they're insecure, and one of the things they do is they want yes people around them because they can't cope with being challenged at all. They become incredibly defensive, or fall apart.
Yeah.
And I get that, and that's a kind of a them problem for them to work on. It's not a me problem to solve.
Like that as well. And yeah, it's like, and if you're autistic and ADHD and rejection sensitive, it can be really hard when people challenge you. But if you keep doing what you're doing and nothing changes, then you will lose market share. I mean, look at Blockbuster.
And if you're a manager or a recruiter, HR leader, whoever is writing the letter to a job applicant, and the words coming out of your fingers onto the page are, "We don't think it's a good fit."
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Is it that you haven't found another clone? Is it that you think that they will challenge things too much, or they're not sociable enough like everyone else is, or they want to work from home a lot, so they're not really a team player? What's feeding that sentence? We don't think it's a good fit.
So sometimes racism, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. It could be because someone's too avant-garde. You know.
Maybe they've got snake bite piercings.
Yes, maybe they've got hair dye. I mean, I've got hair dye on, but I've chosen a very acceptable kind of a dark red. I haven't gone blue. Some people, like Beth Thomas, another colleague of ours, fabulous blue hair. Looks like a mermaid. Absolutely amazing. But some organizations might say, but I can't have that as the face of my company. But again, they need to check themselves, because if that's the kind of job where they're working in an office with other colleagues, how is she the face of the company? She's not on reception.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So think about what you're really asking for. I'm always aghast when I see streams of school children coming out of school and they've all just kind of made them look like clones. And they're not allowed to colour their hair or express themselves with makeup and piercings and whatever. You've all got to be the same sheep. Kind of thing. Conform. And I'm like, imagine a world where that wasn't the case, and that you could express yourself fully as a child, and that may or may not lead to you being that expressive as an adult, or you might have got it out of your system and you become slightly more conforming later because that suits you to do so. I think there's a parallel universe somewhere, you know.
I agree. Yeah, Azzy, you were going to say something, and then I've got an anecdote to jump in with.
I forgot where I even was.
Okay.
But I think, especially in school, I mean, me myself in particular, I never followed any of those sort of like the uniform rules. I had bright hair, all my friends had piercings, all of that. Because the thing is, there's often there's an expectation and an understanding that there's like a right environment for like to express yourself. But the thing is, your outer expression also affects how you express your inner thought as well. And like it's you're repressing yourself. You're repressing your inner self by not expressing your outer self. And also it stifles creativity. Oftentimes when you have like people who are artists, who are more creative, who are more likely to be in creative spaces and are very important to making brands stand out and to appeal to different people, they're because they're being forced to look a certain way, they're going to repress themselves. They're not going to be as creative. Oftentimes there's the saying that school kills artists,
Yeah.
which is because they can't express themselves. And it's the exact same in the workplace.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. School still encourages people to sit down, shut up, and do as they're told. I go in to do public training, speaking kind of stuff with kids, and I say, you can talk about anything you like. And they look at me, blinking, going, what does that mean? Can't you tell us what to talk about? No, I want you to pick a subject. And they're completely bamboozled by the idea of thinking for themselves. And like, how frightening is that?
Yeah, that's some 1984 stuff there. So yeah, I was going to say, when I worked for Solicitors Regulation Authority, and people were generally quite casual there, I think, unless they had to go out and do a member-facing meeting or something. But the CEO for a while didn't like tattoos, and various members of the workforce who did express themselves with colourful hair and flamboyant clothing and awesome shoes and various things like that gradually worked at him over time until he realised that that was just some normative standard and that it didn't actually mean anything. And he brought this up. He used to do like a 10-year service award, and that would involve tea and cake at Harvey Nichols. And I went to one of these. I was so worried about saying the wrong thing. That's before I even knew I was autistic, but I just thought, no, just don't say anything apart from please and thank you. But of course I can't shut up, so I didn't. And he mentioned this. The employee forum had said, can we make it okay to have visible tattoos and brightly coloured hair and things? And he was telling us how he'd considered that, got over himself and said, yeah, sure. And so I mentioned Leah's tattoo. Now, Leah was the head of HR, and I've known her for a really long time. And when we first worked together, we were at the same level and in an office where we could wear jeans and whatever we liked. And she has one of those tattoos across her lower back. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned this tattoo. So, I really like Leah's tattoo. You know, it's really tastefully placed and really pretty. And he's like, what? Leah has a tattoo? And I was thinking, oh no, I've dropped her in it now. And he said, where is it? And I said, it's across the bottom of her back. And then I was thinking, oh shit, now he's going to think I've seen her naked. I hadn't. Just she used to wear jeans and crop tops in the office when she was as junior as I was in the early days. And that's the kind of thing where we lie awake at night thinking, I blurted this and I shouldn't have. And it's only when I went self-employed, I messaged her and said, I've made this video about this blurt, it involves you. Can you watch it and let me know if it's okay to put it on my socials? And she watched it and she was like, that's hilarious, Charlie. I can't believe you were beating yourself up about this for so long.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We do. They think we don't have empathy, but if we think we've said something to get someone into trouble or upset them, then we can really ruminate about it. So we absolutely have empathy.
Absolutely. I often wonder how, if we were to take a group of 4-year-olds who hadn't yet been conditioned by school and drop them into a corporate setting, people would go, "Oh my goodness, that would be anarchy," and I'm like, yeah, pure unadulterated creativity, curiosity, challenge in all the right ways, unbridled, limitless thinking,
Yeah.
instead of very
Oh,
closed mind
why does
thinking
no one
and
do
we can't
that?
do that because of this.
You know,
But employers say they want people to speak up, use their initiative, but that's not what we teach people to do.
I mean, often we talk about people infantilizing autism and treating autistic people as kids because we're perceived as kids. But
Eternal child bias. Yeah,
I'd
there's
also
another one.
like to take from that the good side of that that's partly right is that sometimes we do act more like kids, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like we're more
Yes.
creative and we don't
the yippee creature.
yeah, we're more creative and we find more joy. It's like obviously
Yes.
that's oftentimes people will ask me, if you could choose not to be autistic, would you? And the first thing that I go to that I tell them to explain that I would choose to be autistic is I don't think that I would appreciate any of my interests, have any of the joy, or be as knowledgeable if I wasn't autistic. It's like, yes, neurotypical people can be specialists, but not in the same way that an autistic person can.
Because they don't have that monotropism, the attention tunnel. They call it highly focused, abnormally highly focused, pathological
hyper focus.
Yeah, but the autism community, Dinah Murray in particular, I think, have coined monotropism to describe that. Yeah, and that is where expertise comes from.
But we don't also lose our childlike wonder.
Yeah.
So and that ties into that infantilizing that you were mentioning, Azzy. I've actually felt the room temperature change in a second when I revealed I was autistic to a client that I was talking to, well, prospective client at the time, and he was totally up for the work that I was doing. He was really impressed with my credentials and how I was going to help his organization with communication, especially. And as soon as I shared with him that I was autistic, he started treating me like I was a 7-year-old, and was like, "Would you like a drink?" And I'm like, "Why have you changed the way you're talking to me?" I haven't changed the way I'm talking to you.
When people do that,
he didn't book
Princess
me
Diana
for the
head to the side
thing.
thing.
Yeah, he booked me for one bit of work. I think he felt like he had to because he'd had me in for the planning session, but then didn't continue with the follow-on work. And I'm like, but the results from the initial session were fantastic and what you asked for. Why wouldn't you continue the work?
His loss.
One of the reasons was he didn't attend the training because he thought he didn't have to. He knows it all.
It's that's all kinds of bullshit, isn't it?
Oh, totally. He was Mr. I want to manage things, but I also want to play golf every day.
Yeah. I worked in the same job for a really long time. So I was known as a subject matter expert and the person you consult if anyone wanted to, for example, bring out a new HR policy. They come and talk to me about the HR system's implications. And so I was in a consultative capacity as well as maintaining the system and fixing problems with it and producing MI and things. But as soon as people knew I was autistic, if I thought a management decision was a bad idea, that isn't because it genuinely was a bad idea and I've got great pattern recognition abilities. It's because I'm autistic and change resistant. But actually I'm not. If something's antiquated and no longer serves us, I want to change it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not the rigid thinking that we get labeled with all the time. People think it's on all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the myth. And because humans like to put other humans in a box, right? We like to go, we've got the measure of you. We know what you are. We know how to interact with you. So we're going to put you in that box. And can you just stay in that box? That would be really great. Because if you can just stay in the box, I know what to do with you.
Yeah.
And this is totally harking back to caveman times where we're literally saying, are you friend or foe?
Definitely.
It's that basic. We're not really very far along in our evolution. Not like crocodiles, right?
Job descriptions do that as well. It's like, I'm working in an HR systems role, but I'm particularly good at spotting the errors and omissions in HR policies. So I say to the HR director, I hear you're drafting a new EDI policy. Can you please consult me? Because I'll have some really good ideas and I'll spot the things that others miss. Not just the typos. Anyone can spot typos. But
Yeah.
I'll see the things that you haven't thought about that are important. And he basically said, no, that's outside of your remit, which means I'm going to really tightly constrain you by your job description. And I'll ask an HR business partner to do that policy review piece, even if then maybe more strategic and less good at the granular detail. So I think we should be moving towards designing jobs around the capabilities of people within our teams and letting them spread their wings a little.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100% behind that one. So I've got a question for Azzy, and there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm literally just picking your brains. Do you think that there are any trans humans that are not neurodivergent?
Oh, what a controversial question. In my personal experience, I don't think I've ever met a trans person who wasn't neurodivergent. I mean, maybe one or two, but that's like really. But
Yeah.
the thing is, so this is like a very common what's it?
Correlation
To make is being trans and autistic, and people oftentimes will use it as you're neurodivergent or like specifically autistic, therefore you don't know like what your gender is, you don't have the capacity to understand gender in the way that everyone else does. But the thing with being trans is, for some reason, the fact that being trans is a social construct doesn't come into this like conversation, which is beyond ridiculous to me, because neurodiversity, a social thing. So actually, yeah, if you're neurodivergent, you are more likely to be trans. It's not you're more likely to think you're trans, because if you think you're trans, you are trans, because it's a social construct. And I think the reason for that is obviously because, well, we don't fit into social constructs in the same way that neurotypical people do. So oftentimes it's not just like being trans, like the, like specifically when you're gender fluid, gender queer, non-binary, all of the not binary trans identities, you're more likely to be neurodivergent.
Definitely. And I think it's a bit of a difficult one for a lot of the trans community, because they think that if people think transness is an autistic thing, that will be weaponized against them if they want gender affirming care. Not that it's easy to get that at all. And
Indeed. I guess I asked the question purely just to, I don't know, get it onto here so we can raise it as a question. People do think of those questions inside their head, and it's one of the reasons why they won't ask people a question, because they're afraid of the answer, not because the answer's scary, but because they don't want to get it wrong. They don't want to, find themselves in HR. But I think it's about not having assumptions. And I think if people ask with that childlike curiosity that we talked about, rather than coming from a place of judgment or accusation, or trying to put you in a box so they can go, yeah, see, I was right, kind of thing.
Yeah, the confirmation bias again.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
I think it's like, if we can ask things as in completely feigning ignorance, even if we know a little bit about it, to see what people want to share, rather than saying, I think this, but correct me if I'm wrong. then
How
we're
many
going to
people
get a lot more insight.
have we met where they've gone, oh, I've got an autistic cousin, I know all about it, and you're like, is it a 6-year-old boy by any chance? You know, is it that stereotype again? I'm not denying 6-year-old boys are autistic. Sometimes they absolutely can be, but that seems to be the trope, you know.
The tricky thing with stereotypes, I find with people that are like being like stereotyped, is oftentimes we'll purposely try to avoid everything that is a part of that stereotype. But the thing is, a lot of stereotypes, they do come from somewhere. So it's like everyone on like both sides is like, you're either all of it or you're none of it.
Yes.
And with when someone like assumes something about you, and then there's also other assumptions on top of that, if you validate one of their assumptions, then there's the worry that they'll assume that all of their other assumptions are also true. And then also like a particular trait, it's like you may have that trait, but then the way that trait presents for you, it's like a trait doesn't present in one way. So it's like, yes, I do have that trait, but me saying that doesn't mean that that trait represents in the way that you think it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-binary.
Yeah. You can have 1,000 people in the room and they might all be autistic, but they're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few times thought, actually, I really don't identify as a woman, and should I come out as non-binary? But the fact that I kind of look like one, it's like people expect androgyny, which is taking a binary and falsely chopping it up into a tertiary system, but still with individual boxes and no fluidity.
Well, it's the same stereotype as my dad, bless him, assuming that all gay women have short hair and wear comfortable shoes, right? That's for him, that's the stereotype of a gay woman. And even so, doesn't seem to be a word for it. I'm just going to say it's not even that I feel that I'm non-binary. I just feel human. And there isn't a gender to it. There isn't anything to it. It's just I'm a human being. I understand there is biology behind the equipment I might have in my physical body. And okay, from a medical point of view, you could say I have a female body. So treat my body that way if there are peculiarities to treating a body because it's female in a very certain way, hormonally or whatever. But actually, in terms of my brain and the way I perceive myself and interact with others, I guess that's one of the reasons why I tend to treat everybody very similarly in my approach. I don't speak differently to a woman than I do to a man, for example. And even when I have deference to somebody who's in charge, a higher grade or whatever, it's the same deference regardless of who's in front of me. There's not more deference because it's a guy compared to a woman or anything like that.
I hope not.
It's and I am still conditioned, right? I'm 53, so I still have some conditioning to work on. I'm a work in progress, because when I meet somebody and I have someone in front of me who is truly androgynous, and my brain wants to say, are you male or female? Because of my decades of conditioning. And every time it's in my head, it's like I've got someone going, no, push it out of your head. You don't need to even know. It doesn't matter. You just have a human in front of you.
Can just use they, them pronouns to refer to them if you need to refer to them by anything but name, and not give their gender another thought. But
exactly, which is my bending for decades of conditioning. But you can do it if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. It's a conscious choice, isn't it? Let's get rid of the unconscious bias by making conscious choices to include and move away from assumptions. Happy Autistic Appreciation Month, and thank you so much for being with us, Sam, and thank you for joining us, Azzy.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really cool.
See you soon.